Rivals Radio.
Welcome back to Rivals Radio. Man, what a national championship game that was.
Yeah.
Michigan went undefeated all season. And that freshman QB, Burt Bean, he was something else.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to see a team go undefeated, especially with all the talent in the college series. I think what really set Michigan apart was their consistency. They just kept finding ways to win week after week.
Right. And Bean really stepped up in those big moments. But, Oklahoma gave them a run for their money, too. They finished 13-1. And Buck McCarthy had an amazing season overall.
Absolutely. Those 5 interceptions in the championship game were rough. I'm curious to see how that affects his draft stock. Will teams focus on his talent and impressive season? Or will that final game scare them off?
That's a great point. It'll be interesting to see how teams evaluate him. But hey, before we get too deep into the draft, we've got the new Recruit College All-Star Game to look forward to this weekend. It's always exciting to see these user recruits go head-to-head against the top CPU players.
And this year, it's the black versus blue format. You have 11 user recruits on each team, all battling for bragging rights. Some are already committed to colleges, while others are still undeclared, looking to make a splash and maybe even catch the eye of a coach or two.
Exactly. So for you listeners who might not be familiar with the Football Rivals universe, being undeclared means these players haven't chosen a college to play for yet. And this All-Star Game is a huge opportunity for them to showcase their skills and potentially land a spot on a great team.
Think of it like a live audition for college recruiters.
Exactly.
Keep an eye on AJ Silva and Hans Knockenbrecher, both undeclared. They'll be looking to impress. This could be their ticket to a top-tier program.
It's like a sneak peek into the future of college football. And we've got some big names playing in this one. Now, on the black team, we've got some serious talent. Burt Bean, fresh off that national championship win.
Leading the charge.
Yep, back for more. Even after achieving the ultimate goal, this kid's got a competitive fire.
For sure.
And joining Bean on that black team is Kyler McConnell, running back from Oklahoma. He's going to be looking for some redemption after that championship loss.
Oh, yeah. He wants to prove he can hang with the best of the best.
Absolutely. Now, another name that caught my eye on that black team roster is Gerald Ford III, heading to Michigan next season. Talk about a legacy.
Right. I wonder if we'll see him catching passes from Bean in a couple of years. That would be something special.
It would. Oh, and we can't forget about Billy Ray Bannon, the sophomore linebacker for Texas A&M. The scouting report says he's got a mullet and plays like Bobby Boucher from The Waterboy.
Love it. This kid is going to bring the energy, that's for sure.
All right, the black team sounded pretty stacked. What about the blue team? Give me some names to get excited about.
Well, they've got a couple of intriguing quarterbacks, Nikhil Banks from Texas A&M and Noah Roberts from Georgia Tech. Both dual threat guys with tons of potential.
Well, I love good quarterback battle.
Right.
Who's going to step up and lead the team?
Right.
And last but not least, we have Hans Knockenbrecher, freshman kicker, also undeclared. Word on the street is this kid has a leg like a cannon.
No kidding. A kicker with that kind of power.
Imagine nailing a 50-yard field goal in this game and having your pick of colleges.
That's the dream, right? This All-Star game, it's more than just a game. It's a chance for these user recruits to make a name for themselves.
You might even be watching some future draft prospects in action.
Now that you mention it, the Year 1 Pro Draft is right around the corner, too. The weekend after the All-Star Game, in fact.
And the excitement never ends in the Football Rivals universe.
It really doesn't. And with all this young talent on display, both in the All-Star Game and heading into the draft, I can't wait to see how it shapes the future of the leagues. It's amazing how quickly these leagues have taken off. Just a year ago, we didn't even have pro teams. And now we've got dedicated fan bases, rivalries brewing, and this draft is only going to add fuel to the fire.
I think it speaks to how passionate the Football Rivals community is. They've really embraced these leagues and are creating their own legacies within this virtual universe.
Speaking of legacies, let's talk about the Year 1 Pro Draft. The Canton Crush have that numbered in pick. And the speculation is already rampant. What do you think they'll do?
It's hard to pass up on Jimmy McNamara. He's got the size, the arm strength, and the mobility that makes scouts drool. He does seem like the real deal. But some scouts are saying Smokey Smith from NC State has the highest ceiling in this draft class. What are your thoughts on him?
Smokey Smith, he's an intriguing prospect. He's got this natural throwing motion. And his ability to dissect defenses is already at a pro level. He just makes it look easy. I think the key for him will be finding the right team and coaching staff to help him develop his full potential. If that happens, he could be a game changer.
So you're saying it's a toss-up between McNamara and Smith for that number 1 pick?
Don't forget about Buck McCarthy. I know he had a rough championship game.
Yeah.
But he's got that cannon for an arm. And he showed incredible resilience throughout the season, leading Oklahoma back from some tough situations. I think some teams might be willing to bet on his talent and hope they can help him overcome those inconsistency issues.
You know, you're right. It's easy to get caught up in that one bad game. But he was a force for most of the season. I think his draft stock is going to be one of the most interesting storylines to follow. Someone could get a steal if he falls in the draft.
And that's what makes the draft so unpredictable. It's not just about pure talent, it's about fit potential and sometimes a little bit of luck.
Okay, let's shift gears to the running backs. We got Alvin Thompson, the Heisman winner, who seems to run over anyone in his path. And then there's Johnny Hobbs, who's got that all-around talent. What are your thoughts on these two?
Alvin Thompson is a beast. He's that powerful downhill runner who can wear down a defense and carry a team on his back. But Johnny Hobbs is no slouch either. He's got speed agility and great hands.
Yeah.
He can catch passes out of the backfield, make defenders miss in space, and turn a short gain into a big play.
It sounds like both of these guys are going to make an immediate impact at the pro level.
Absolutely. And there's more talent where that came from. Jamal Watson from UNC is a speedster who can take it to the house on any given play. And then there's Nate Carter from Michigan, who's proven to be a reliable third down back with a nose for the end zone.
So much depth at the running back position. This is going to be fun to watch. Now, how about those wide receivers? This class seems loaded with talent.
It really is. You've got Ed Silva from NC State, who's that classic deep threat with the size and speed to be a real headache for defensive coordinators. Then there's Cameron Reed from Michigan, who's just a playmaker. He can go up and get the jump ball, make tough catches in traffic, and turn short passes into big games.
And we can't forget Brendan Branch from Texas A&M. That guy is electric. He's got that 4.3 speed that can take the top off any defense. He's going to be a fan favorite for sure.
And there's more. Ronald Jones and Malcolm Butler, both from Notre Dame, are guys to watch. Jones is another versatile playmaker who can line up all over the field, while Butler is a shifty slot receiver who can find those soft spots in zone coverage and make defenders miss in the open field. And don't sleep on Cole Cross from Virginia. He might not have the same hype as some of the other guys, but he's a smooth route runner with reliable hands.
So many talented receivers. I'm already imagining the highlight reels. But we all know that even with all this offensive firepower, you need a solid offensive line to make it all work.
Absolutely. And this year, there's one program that really stands out. Michigan. Their offensive line was dominant all season, and several of their starters are projected to go in the first few rounds. Carlos Copeland, Luke Carey, and Jamie Buckley are names you'll want to remember.
Michigan fans must be thrilled to see their guys making the jump to the pros.
And let's not forget about Trey Cronin and Craig Patterson. They're two more highly touted prospects who could anchor offensive lines for years to come.
It's amazing to see how the talent is spread across different positions and programs. This draft class is truly special, but you know what? We've only scratched the surface. We haven't even talked about the defensive side of the ball yet. You're right about that. We've spent a lot of time talking about these offensive stars. But as they say, defense wins championships. What kind of defensive talent are we looking at in this draft?
Well, what stands out to me is the depth and variety. We've got everything. Those explosive edge rushers who can get to the quarterback in a blink of an eye. Massive defensive tackles who can clog up the running lanes. And ball-hawking defensive backs who can change the momentum of a game with one play. This is going to be a fun group to watch develop at the pro level.
Let's start with those edge rushers.
Yeah.
Who are some of the names we should be keeping an eye on?
You've got guys like Brandon Smith from Florida State, Kyle Turner from LSU, and Carlos Brewer from UCLA. They're all projected to go pretty early in the draft. These are the speed demons, the guys with that lightning-quick first step and the ability to bend around the edge and get to the quarterback before he even knows what hit him.
Those offensive tackles are going to need some extra help against these guys.
They definitely will. And there are a couple of other edge rushers I like a lot. Keith Collins from Iowa State and Connor Bishop from Clemson. Collins is a little more polished in his technique, while Bishop brings that raw power and strength. I think both of them have the potential to be impact players early in their careers.
Sounds like it's going to be a race to see who can rack up the most sacks in their rookie season. Now, what about the big guys in the middle, those defensive tackles?
Well, you gotta love a good run stuffer. And this draft class has a few prospects who can really clog up the middle. Reed Brandon from Navy is a name that comes to mind. He's got that prototypical size and strength to anchor a defensive line and just eat up blockers.
He sounds like the kind of guy who can free up those linebackers to make plays all over the field.
Exactly. And then you have Brad Huggins from North Texas and Jonathan Van from Michigan. Huggins is another classic run stuffer who can control the line of scrimmage, while Van is a bit more versatile. and can even generate some interior pass rusher.
Okay, so we've got those guys who can shut down the run game. Now we need the last line of defense, the defensive backs who can make those game-changing interceptions. Who are some of the standouts in this draft class?
Well, at the linebacker position, you've got Jimmy Black from NC State. He's a prototype middle linebacker, big, fast, and instinctive. He's got the size to take on blockers, the speed to cover tight ends and running backs, and the instincts to diagnose plays and make tackles all over the field.
He sounds like he could be the quarterback of the defense.
Absolutely. And there are a couple other linebackers I really like. Josh Price from Pittsburgh is that classic field general who can read the offense and make the right calls, while Malik Walker from LSU is a run-stopping machine who loves to blow up plays in the backfield.
Those are some impressive linebackers. Now let's talk about the secondary. Who are some of the cornerbacks and safeties we should be watching?
At cornerback, you've got Raheem Gold from Iowa and John Poole from Texas A&M. Both of these guys are lockdown corners. With the size, speed, and technique to cover those elite wide receivers, they're going to have their hands full with all the talent at receiver that we talked about earlier.
That's for sure. And what about at safety?
Well, at safety, you have Levi Back from Georgia, Alan Wake from Michigan, and Doug Haas from Ohio State. Back is that versatile safety who can play both in the box and deep coverage. Wake is that classic center fielder who excels in zone coverage. And Haas is another rangy safety who has a knack for making plays all over the field.
Wow, this draft class is absolutely loaded. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. And which of these players become stars in the Pro League. It's going to be a blast to watch.
I agree. This is an incredibly exciting time for the Football Rivals universe.
To all of our listeners, thanks for tuning into Rivals Radio. Be sure to catch all the action from the new Recruit College All-Star Game this weekend. And then get ready for the Year 1 Pro Draft the following week.
And we'll be here to cover it all.
It's Rivals Radio.